Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, the feature race at Aqueduct on Sunday, race number 3. Let's take a look at the field for the New York Stallion Series. We're going 7 furlongs on the main track. It's a well-bunched group of 6. I think this is a very competitive field. You see that the 6 Gold for the King is the 2-to-1 morning line favorite. Gold for the King obviously has credentials. He's 2 for 2 at Aqueduct. He really looked good as a 2-year-old at the start of this year. I haven't liked his recent form. Maybe he had no chance in the Hudson Handicap last time out against sort of the A-level New York bred sprinters, but he was 4-to-1 that day, and he didn't fire at all.
He was terrible. He was terrible. He trailed. He was wide throughout, and I have no problem with the ride that Rosario gave him. It was just a matter of this horse did no running whatsoever. The start 2 back, I don't want to hold that against him. Mile 16 probably too far. But you go to the run 3 back. I don't think he should have lost a pat on the back at the Finger Lakes. And I just kind of look at it and say, I think he's going the wrong direction.
This is a race where you have a lot of horses, classy horses that are off form, and they're facing horses that are taking a big step up in class, but they're sharp. And you have to decide which one of those 2 options you like. Loki's Vengeance on his best day probably wins this race. The problem with Loki's Vengeance is we haven't seen him since late May in the Commentator, a race where he really had no shot on paper and he was beaten 40 lengths. You don't want to judge him on that performance. Before that, winner over a muddy track. He does well at Aqueduct. He does well at 7. It's first time Linda Rice. There are a lot of things to like about Loki's Vengeance, but that layoff scares me at a relatively short price.
And that's fair. I don't think I could argue with that. I don't think anybody can argue with that. I look at it and think that what you had said at the top is accurate, that if he runs his race, I think he's just better than these horses. And if I'm going to trust anyone off of a kind of layoff like this with the trainer change, it's going to be Linda. Her numbers are very, very good.
Becker's Galaxy, the number 1's cutting back in distance. And the question I have for you is, do you like him at this 7 furlongs? For the majority of his career, he has gone long. He was second to Loki's Vengeance, beating a country mile in this race last year. But in the Empire Classic, he wasn't going to be Twisted Tom and those kind of horses. His race 2 starts back against some salty non-winners of 2 other than and a wet track to boot. You go back to his race 3 back, that puts him in the mix.
You know, my only concern is the turn back. He doesn't have a lot of speed to begin with, so is he going to have too much to do, especially if there is a lack of speed in this race and a lack of pace? I think it's interesting. You have to acknowledge Rudy at Aqueduct, since we've gotten back to Aqueduct, in sprint races, he's 8 for 13 with a 4.55 ROI. I think this horse is interesting. I picked him second. I'm afraid that he's going to get outrun early.
Well, let's put up the Timeform US pace projector and see where our friends at Timeform US have the one. And they have him relatively close to the pace. But the good news for fans of the 5 Loki's Vengeance is that he's on the lead, and that blue bar indicates that Timeform US believes that this race will favor horses on or near the early lead. Advantage to Loki's Vengeance, and also perhaps advantage to the number 2. That's Sudden Surprise going out for Brad Cox. Now, this horse had to work very hard 2 starts back to win at 6.5, and then in the Hudson he really didn't fire. I'm not sure where he is. He's a back classer. He did well for Todd Pletcher back in the day, but while that 89 buyer entices, I'm not sure if I buy it.
I was going to say, if you look at the overall body of work, take that 89 out, where is his really fast race? Where's the race that makes him a prime contender in here? I thought he was terrible in the Hudson. I guess my big opinion is I don't want the horses coming out of the Hudson. I know it's a 6-horse field, and that takes out a third of it. I just didn't like the way either one of them ran that day.
Now let's talk about the horses that are stepping up sharp. We'll begin with the 4, Nobody Move, who won a non-winners at 2 other than. He is now through his New York bred conditions. Obviously, that win came over the track at Aqueduct. But when you watch that race couldn't have set up any better. There was a very fast pace up front. Victor LeBron had Nobody Move just by himself at the back of the pack, and it took him forever to get up. It didn't look like he was going to get there. That pace collapsed. Completely different scenario against better horses this time.
Yeah, I think for me it's as simple as 4 times a winner from 25 lifetime starts, 13 times second or third if you're using them underneath Illman.
Let's take a look at our picks for the New York Stallion Series. You're not going to fool around in here.
No.
You like Loki's Vengeance on top off the layoff. Boy, he's just an old class master. He's going to get a trip either on the lead or sitting just off. But I'm interested in your opinion on the 3. Cloud Control. This is a horse who spent most of his time, and you see his pedigree by Freud. You understand why he's been on the turf. Last time out, they went turf to dirt with him. It was a very weak race, a $35,000 non-winners of 3L. I thought he did it in solid fashion. He obviously has to improve from a speed figure standpoint, but He's sharp, and that's what I'm looking for in here. At a price, I want the sharp horse. I don't think he's completely exposed.
No, I agree with you 100%, especially because it almost feels like you say, he's been campaigned on turf so long. I wonder if dirt's what he's wanted all along. The interesting thing about this horse that I would like anyway is the fact that if Loki's Vengeance goes, I want Angel Arroyo to get this horse close, because if Loki's Vengeance doesn't fire, you could conceivably inherit this thing turning for home. And if that's the case, I want the sharp in-form horse, highest last out buyer, highest last out time form.
And that's really the key to the race. Does this horse have the speed to stay close? I'm not sure. I do know he is a stakes winner at this distance on turf from just off of the pace. We'll see what we get from Cloud Control. Matt's going 5-1. I'm going 3-4-6-1 in the New York Stallion Series, race number 3 at Aqueduct on Sunday. If you're betting the whole card, if you're betting any track across the country, DRF Bets is the place to go, because you get a $300 sign-up bonus right away. DRF.com/fall, promo code FALL300. Approximate post time for race number 3 at Aqueduct on Sunday, 1:18 Eastern. Good luck.